Mara Lynn had practiced her scholarship speech until every dangerous word had been replaced. She could say opportunity. She could say future. She could even say deserve, if she slowed down and kept her eyes on one fixed point. The sentence she had chosen for Founders Night was simple. Thank you for believing in students who build quietly. At 7:30, Bellwether University's glass auditorium glowed with donor logos, camera flashes, and students dressed for photographs. Mara sat in the front row with her hands folded over the silver ring her mother had left her. On stage, Ethan Vale smiled beneath the university seal. He had been Mara's boyfriend for 11 months. He knew which sounds caught in her throat, and how badly she needed the scholarship now that her father's repair shop was behind on rent. That afternoon, he had held her shoulders outside the media lab and said, "Tonight changes everything." He had been right. As student council president, Ethan said, "I believe trust matters more than talent." A slide appeared behind him. Mara's name filled the screen. Then her own voice came through the auditorium speakers, thin and frightened. "I can't do this. I can't stand up there and let everyone watch me fail." A few students looked toward her. The recording jumped. "Ethan will fix it. He always fixes things for me." Laughter moved through the room in embarrassed waves. Mara remembered sending the first sentence after a panic attack. She had never said the second. The screen changed to messages from her account. They showed her asking Ethan for private login credentials, mocking the other finalists, and bragging that he would make sure she won. The messages were convincing. They were also false. Ethan lowered his head, performing disappointment with careful restraint. "Last week, confidential scholarship files were accessed through my campaign account," he said. Mara admitted she depended on me to get ahead. I couldn't remain silent. Mara rose too quickly. Her chair scraped across the floor. "Ethan, what?" Her voice locked. That was when Celeste Warren walked onto the stage. Celeste had been Mara's roommate since freshman orientation. She had braided Mara's hair before presentations, and once sat outside a restroom stall while Mara fought through a panic attack. Now she wore Ethan's Navy campaign pin on her dress. He took her hand. "We didn't want you to. Find out this way," Celeste said, though the university livestream camera was aimed directly at Mara. "But we couldn't keep covering for you." Then Celeste leaned against Ethan while the room erupted in whispers and raised phones. The message was unmistakable. Mara had cheated, lost her boyfriend, and been replaced by her best friend in one public moment. By the time she reached the lobby, the campus gossip page had already posted the clip. Scholarship, girl exposed by her own boyfriend. Her phone shook with notifications. Then every digital screen in the lobby went black. The donor reel vanished. Event schedules disappeared. Even the vending machine display dimmed. Single line appeared across all of them. "Use the panic recording. She'll never recover." Ethan's name hovered above the message. A second line flashed. "Celeste, I cut the audio. You just have to look sad." The screens returned to normal. The entire glitch lasted 4 seconds. No one screamed. No one pointed. People kept talking. Only Mara and a student beside the audio booth stood frozen. He wore a press badge and held a coil of cable over one shoulder. Dark curls fell across his forehead. His eyes moved from the screens to Mara's ring. "Did you see that?" he asked. Mara tried to answer. Nothing came out. By midnight, she had lost the scholarship, her job in the media lab, and access to her dorm room. Celeste placed Mara's belongings in the hall and told resident staff she felt unsafe. Ethan posted a statement about accountability. It received thousands of likes. Mara slept in a study lounge with her coat over her face. The next morning, the student from the lobby found her, beside a dead phone charger. His name was Noah Reyes. He was a junior, reporter at the Bellwether Ledger, and had worked technical support during Founders Night. "I checked the network logs," he said. "Those messages didn't come through the auditorium system," Mara typed on her phone. "Then where did they come from?" "That's what I'm trying to understand." He placed a paper cup beside her. "Tea with honey." She looked at him. "My sister stutters," he said. "This helps her after bad days." Kindness could also be a setup. She did not drink. Noah opened an old laptop with tape over its camera. "I pulled the gala audio before the university erased the control room files." He played Ethan's presentation recording. When Mara's frightened voice filled the speakers, her ring turned hot. She jerked her hand away. The audio stopped. Noah frowned. "Did you touch something?" Mara shook her head. He restarted the clip. This time, Mara pressed the ring against the laptop casing. The speakers crackled. Ethan's voice replaced hers. "Use the panic note. It makes her look dependent." Celeste answered. "The original isn't humiliating enough." A chair scraped. Keys clicked. Celeste began humming while she cut Mara's sentences apart. A deleted editing timeline appeared on the screen. Red markers showed every splice. Mara pulled back. The laptop went dark. Pain closed around her throat. She tried to breathe, but even air seemed trapped. Noah caught her before her knees hit the floor. For 6 hours, she could not make a sound. When her voice returned as a rough whisper, Noah said, "Whatever that was, it took something from you." Mara looked at the laptop. It gave something back. They tested the ring that afternoon in an empty classroom. Noah placed 3 phones on a desk. One belonged to him. One was an old device from the newspaper office. The third was Mara's, still full of messages calling her a fraud. "Touch. Mine first," he said. Mara pressed the ring. Against it. Nothing happened. She tried the newspaper phone. Nothing. Then, she touched her own device while Ethan's statement remained open. The screen flickered. A deleted draft appeared beneath the public. "Post once she's removed. The fellowship committee has no reason to delay my nomination." Mara read it twice. Her voice vanished again, but only for 3 minutes. Noah wrote the result on the board. The device had to contain a lie tied to harm done to her. Mara erased the last words and wrote, "Maybe not only me." To test it, Noah opened an email from a student named Priya, whose emergency grant had been delayed. Ethan had replied that the funds were exhausted. Mara touched the phone. Nothing happened. She tried again while holding the forwarded spreadsheet Priya had sent. The ring warmed, but no hidden file appeared. Then Priya entered the classroom. She had agreed to meet Noah because the missing grant had forced her to leave campus housing. Her suitcase stood beside the door. When Priya placed her hand over Mara's, the phone flashed. A deleted message surfaced. "Delay the emergency payments until after the donor gala. We can replace the money once the engagement vendor clears the transfer." The sender was Ethan. The ring burned sharply. Mara's voice disappeared for 20 minutes. The rule was clear. The power answered harm she had witnessed, or harm carried by someone willing to face it beside her. Priya stared at the message. "My mother sold her wedding bracelet because of that delay." Mara looked at Noah. This was no longer only about humiliation. The engagement vendor belonged to Ethan's cousin. The invoices showed fake social media services billed against emergency aid. Mara had noticed the numbers 2 weeks before Founders Night and asked Ethan about them. He had taken her phone, smiled, and said she was reading the sheet wrong. 2 days later, her account appeared in the scholarship breach logs. Noah wanted to publish immediately. Mara refused. "Not yet," she said, forcing the words through a throat still recovering. "He'll say the files are fake. They needed evidence outside the ring." Their next chance came when Celeste hosted a student council live stream from the communications lab. Mara still had an old access code that had not been disabled. She and Noah entered after midnight. The room smelled of overheated plastic. Celeste's editing station was locked, but a backup drive blinked beneath the desk. Mara touched it. The ring burned harder than before. A folder opened. Inside were copies of Mara's fake messages, the altered audio, and a payment schedule tied to Celeste's new internship. Then another file appeared. Security footage of Noah entering the auditorium booth before Founders Night. The timestamp was wrong. Mara reached for it. Noah stopped her. "You already have enough. Not if they use this against you." She touched the file. The screen split into 2 versions. One showed the official timestamp. The other showed the original footage, where Noah left 20 minutes before Celeste entered with a silver drive. Mara's throat closed instantly. This time, the silence lasted until morning. Worse, blood spotted the handkerchief Noah pressed into her palm. He shut the laptop. "No more tonight," Mara wrote on her phone. "You do not decide that." "No. But I decide whether I help you destroy yourself." Footsteps sounded in the hall. Security lights swept under the door. Noah unplugged the backup drive and pushed Mara behind the equipment rack. When a guard entered, Noah stepped into the open and claimed he had returned for newspaper. Cables. The guard confiscated his press badge and escorted him out. Mara escaped through the loading corridor, with the drive hidden inside her coat. The Ledger published the investigation 2 days later. It included the vendor records, Priya's testimony, original metadata from the altered footage, and copies of the emergency fund instructions. The university froze the account. Donors demanded an audit. Ethan was removed from the fellowship committee. For one afternoon, campus changed sides. Students deleted mocking posts. The scholarship office contacted Mara. Celeste stopped attending class. Then, at 6:13, the university released a statement. New security files showed Noah entering the communications lab on multiple nights and copying restricted records. An anonymous complaint accused him of manufacturing evidence with Mara to retaliate against. Ethan, the Ledger suspended him. His summer fellowship was revoked. The article was removed pending review. Mara found Noah clearing his desk into a cardboard box. He folded each notebook carefully. "My editor says every source I used is compromised now," he said. 2 years of reporting. Mara's hands tightened around the ring. "I can prove they framed you." "With what?" "Another file only you can reveal." She looked away. "That power gives direction," Noah said. "It does not give credibility. Ethan understands that now." Mara picked up his press badge from the desk. "They did this because you helped me. They did this because I got close. Same thing." "No." He faced her. "That is the lie they need you to keep repeating." Before she could answer, his phone buzzed. The university had scheduled a public conduct forum. Ethan would respond to the accusations live before donors, faculty, and students. Mara read the announcement once. Then she smiled for the first time since Founders Night. Ethan had built his protection out of performance. Every lie came with a podium and a sympathetic pause, so she would make the stage itself betray him. The conduct forum took place in the same glass auditorium Ethan sat beneath the university seal in a gray suit. Celeste sat behind him as a cooperating witness. The event streamed across campus. Mara entered without invitation and took a seat in the front row. Murmur moved through the room. Ethan saw her and arranged his face into exhausted patience. When the moderator asked about the relief fund, he leaned toward the microphone. Marilyn became obsessed with destroying me after our relationship ended. She manipulated Noah Reyes, fabricated messages, and exploited a private mental health episode for attention. The ring heated. Mara stood. Her knees shook. Her throat tightened. She fixed her eyes on the university seal. "You used my voice," she said, fighting through the block, "because you thought I would never use it myself." Ethan glanced toward security. "This behavior proves my point." Mara held up her phone. "Then say it clearly. Say I edited the recording. Say Noah altered the records. Say Celeste had nothing to do with the files." Celeste's shoulders stiffened. Ethan did not notice. "I am happy to say all of that." 3 lies, spoken into a live microphone, stored on every device in the room, directed at Mara before hundreds of witnesses. She pressed her ring against the control tablet mounted beside the aisle. Pain tore through her throat. The screens flickered. Noah, watching from a borrowed laptop in the lobby, activated a mirror stream linked to 12 student accounts. The university could not cut them all. The first recovered video appeared. Ethan stood in the council office beside a whiteboard filled with grant numbers. "Delay the emergency payments," he said. "We replace the money after the donor gala. Nobody audits students who cannot afford lawyers." The next file showed revision history from the vendor invoices. Then the original security footage played, proving Noah had left the booth before Celeste entered with the silver. Drive. The audience turned. Celeste. Rose. Mara kept her hand against the tablet. The final file. Opened. It showed Ethan and Celeste backstage before Founders. "Night," I said, "announce the breakup. And show the access logs." Ethan whispered. "Not the panic recording." Celeste inserted the drive. "She needs to be unforgettable," she said. "Otherwise people may forgive her." Ethan looked toward the stage. His name had just been announced. Then he made his choice. "Fine. Play it." The video continued. Celeste opened Mara's cloned account and planted the false messages. She altered Noah's timestamps. She had prepared every piece before Ethan stepped on stage. Then a private note appeared on her screen. "After the fellowship, leave Ethan. He will take the fall." Ethan turned toward her as if seeing a stranger. Celeste gave a short laugh. "You agreed to everything. Did not agree to be used. You said fine, the same word that had ended. Mara's life on Founders Night now split theirs apart in public." Mara removed her hand. Her voice vanished, but the files remained. The mirror stream had captured them. Priya's testimony led auditors to the delayed grants. The university recovered the original drive from Celeste's locked desk after she traded the access code for a reduced disciplinary recommendation. The power had not replaced proof. It had forced truth into a room where no one could bury it. Ethan lost his fellowship, council position, and enrollment. Celeste was expelled for falsifying records and tampering with evidence. The emergency grants were restored. Noah was reinstated, and the Ledger published a correction naming him as the reporter who uncovered the scheme. The university offered Mara the scholarship again. She accepted only after. The board agreed to create an independent student aid, review panel, and restore every delayed payment. Her voice returned slowly. First a hum, then a whisper. 3 weeks later, she could speak for an hour before the ache began. On the last day of the semester, Noah found her in the empty auditorium. Afternoon light crossed the stage. He held out his press badge. "You kept this." Mara turned it over in her hand. "I was waiting. For what?" "To see whether staying cost you something." "It did. And you stayed." "Yes." The distance between them narrowed. Noah stopped close enough for Mara to hear the uneven breath he tried to hide. She lifted her face. For one suspended second, neither of them moved. Then the auditorium light switched off automatically. Mara laughed into the dark. Noah did too. Later, she locked her mother's ring inside a box. She had learned its final rule during the reckoning. The ring did not awaken for the person who had been hurt most. It awakened for the person who could rewrite the story and still chose not to lie. That was why it had answered Mara, and why, on Founders Night, the first message had appeared before she ever touched a screen. Her mother had worn the ring through years of repairing phones beside Mara's father. She had told Mara every device kept a shadow of what people tried to erase. Mara had thought it was only a technician saying. Now, she understood the earlier scene differently. The ring had not awakened because Ethan betrayed her. It had awakened because, even while the whole auditorium waited for her to beg, deny or invent an excuse, Mara had tried to tell the truth. Months later, the campus gossip page reposted the original humiliation video with a correction. Mara watched the moment. She stood while everyone laughed. Then she closed the app. She no longer saw a girl being destroyed. She saw the first person in the room who had refused to become a liar.